Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're featuring what I think is just a lovely looking watch from Tissot. This is part of their new heritage range. This is the 1938, and there's just something about it, I think, which makes it really just such a likeable watch. I think when you first start collecting watches, you want all the bells and whistles, you want the chronograph, you want the maximal depth rating, you want as many toys as you can have physically on the watch. And then after a bit you suddenly start to appreciate when something is done just right, less can often be more. And I think this is one of those watches where they just kind of nailed it, and have nailed it at what I think is a super affordable price for what it is. But before I get too far into review, I've got to say a massive thank you to the team over at First Class Watches for allowing me to review this model. So much stock, such friendly staff, well worth popping into if you're in the Midlands area. If you're further afield, well, don't worry, because I'll leave a link in the description below to their website. So anyway, let's say a bit more about it. First of all, sizes. We're talking 39mm case size by a thickness of only 11.4 and a lug-to-lug width, that's the point across the watch here, of 46.5. The strap size on this is 20mm. Now, the dial. The dial is just simple. It is so simple, but really well executed. Now, obviously, the main thing here is you've got those beautiful blued hands. Everything on this has just got those kind of nice kind of blue hue to it against that kind of silvery white dial. It's, even with a Tissot script at the top, is very kind of, is taken from the original model back in the kind of late 30s. It just looks for biz. But the main thing of importance here is this here. And what it says is chronometer. So this watch has to adhere to the chronometer specs, and that's, I think it's minus, is it -4 + 6 or -2 + 6? And basically it does. They put a really decent top quality movement in this, and so it performs to that. And to get one of these at the kind of £800 price mark, which this has got the RRP of, is pretty impressive, to say the least. To actually go to the extent to actually have this, they have to send it off, have the movements tested, and it's quite an expensive process. And so to put it on a watch at this price point is actually very impressive. I know you'll get some movements which do work out pretty good, but this one has been tested in loads of rigorous, lots of different ways to see if it is actually as accurate as what they claim. So there you go. Obviously, being that this has got the blued hands and the kind of applied markers, there is no loom on this watch. So it's not going to be one for the loom junkies. This to me is, I wouldn't really call it a dress watch per se, but it's more just an everyday watch. I kind of like that. Now, as we come past that, we have this nice sapphire crystal, which has just a really nice subtle dome to it. It does have AR coating as well, which helps mitigate the actual reflections. And then as we come past that, we have this nice polished bezel on here. Now, that kind of works really well with this satinized finish they've got along here, this brushwork here, because it makes the watch look even slimmer than it actually is, because you tend to only read this point of the watch, and I think that it looks like such a slim, elegant watch. The actual lugs on this have got a lovely, nice kind of scoop to them there. And as we come around to this side, we just have that lovely signed crown. Now, the crown itself, I can zoom in on that, there we go, isn't a screw down crown. It goes straight into hand wind, but you do get 50 meters of water resistance with this watch. Now, as we turn it round, we're greeted with a nice big display case back there. Now, underneath there, this is actually quite a departure for this kind of price point of Tissot, because normally you'd expect to see a kind of Powermatic 80 type movement going on, but this is actually a genuine ETA 2824 chronometer spec. Now, I think this movement is absolutely rock solid. I was working on one only yesterday, servicing one at work. So they're just solid movements. You're talking, well, I did put it on the time graph, and I think it was pulling, I think it was 1 second plus 1 second, which is superb. Power reserve, 38 hours, 25 joules. This is the go-to movement, really. You see the SW200, well, that is a clone of this movement. Ideally, this is, the one you want. This is the real McCoy here. So it is nice to actually see that in this watch. I think it is such a good, solid movement. So anyway, as we can see, the strap on this one, they have gone for this blue leather, but let's zoom out a little bit here. They also supply a mesh bracelet. Now that kind of, I think, works with the watch also very well, because it's kind of that kind of time period. So, really decent. Unfortunately, it's all stapled in now. I'm going to leave it in the packet, but you get the idea. But I feel this is one of those watches which you could just throw straps at, different types of straps, that it'd work. So like something like this one here, a nice tan strap, I think would work on that. Or if you want fancy something a little bit more funky, you can go for something like this one on there. Both of these straps are from my friend John Keeley over at Black Iron Leatherwork. And if you fancy something even different, you could go for one of these kind of style ones here. We've got the tweed, or we've got another blue strap here. These are both from Vario watches. Well worth checking out his shop, actually. He's got some quite funky gear on there. Let me put this on my wrist so you got an idea how it actually looks. Quick wrist check. I'm wearing a Rolex SD4K, and Bob has got quite a cool watch from Citizen. Now, this is the limited edition for the Red Arrows, an automatic GMT. I think it's actually quite a cool watch and something a little bit different. So let's put this, see how this looks. My wrist size is 7¼ inches or 18.5 centimeters. And there you go. I think it just looks superb. I think 39mm is a real sweet spot for many people, and I think this one works just right. Let me know in the comments below what you think of this watch. I personally quite like it. I think it harks back to a more, a simpler kind of style watch, which just looks good. You see lots of action stars with their big kind of over-the-top kind of watches, but then you see something like the John Wick movies where he wears a simple three-hander, and it just works. And I think this is one of those watches, especially for the price, where it is just spot on. Anyway, guys, I'll leave you to it, but most importantly, stay safe out there. Take care. Bye.